Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of Ranking the Albums. It's Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon or evening, depending on where you are. Thanks for joining us here on your day off, and hope everybody's having a great weekend. We've got a great crew here to talk about a really cool band. Let me introduce Craig Kaminski and Jim Bacchi. What's up, guys?
Morning,
What's
how are you?
happening?
Good to see you both. These two were handpicked to handle this episode with me because they've been fans of Fu Manchu for a lot longer than me. I've been the guy playing catch up the last couple of months, and we finally all felt we were ready to go here. So again, Fu Manchu from California, the great stoner rock, stoner metal band, the Kings of Fuzz, whatever you want to call them. They've been around since 1990, what, one or two or three, something like that, guys.
Yeah,
Early 90s, yeah.
early 90s.
Yeah. So they've
Late
got 11 studio albums, 12 actually, if you count one that's kind of the combination of two EPs that they later reissued as one whole album. So we're gonna throw that one in here as well. And we've ranked them in the order that we like them. Although, as we've all been chatting amongst ourselves all week, ranking these albums is nearly impossible because there's really not a dud among them. And some of them are similar, but not. I guess it all depends on which songs and the tones of the guitars you like better on which album, and when you came in with the catalog. I'm new to the catalog, so to me, these are all new to me over the last few months. So I don't really have the bias of listening to them from the beginning, like someone like Craig or Jim might have. They came in at a certain point, and sometimes those are the albums that you really stick to, the ones you heard first. For me, I've heard them all at the same time, so I'm kind of like my ranking, I think, will prove to be all over the place. So with all that being said, Jim is going to kick us off with his number 12. We'll go Jim, Craig, myself, and we'll go around the rest. Should we do two at a time just to kind of make it go a little quicker? You want to do 12?
Two or three, yeah,
Or
whatever.
three? Yeah, let's do three. That sounds good. So Jim, you're first. Your bottom three, I guess.
Okay, so I didn't include the EP in here, so I have 11, but I'll throw the EP in the middle because they're all good. So my number 11, when I put, or number 12 as it would be No One Rides for Free, which is their first album. Even bottom of the list here is amazing stuff. It's their first record, so you could kind of feel where they're going. It's a little more crudely recorded, but not badly recorded, just not as they became a little more polished later on. But it's a solid first record. The song Ojo Rojo, Mega Bumpers, Snake Bellies, all the tracks are good. The tone is super raw. The fuzz on this album and the one after it, which is my number 10, or number 11. Great stuff. So I'm going to go No One Rides for Free. And then my next one after that, my number 11 would be Daredevil with the dune buggy on the front. Super, there's a Blue Cheer element to those early records,
100%. Yep.
You could really hear the just super raw fuzz on there. Trapeze Freak is a great song. You get they're getting their footing, and they don't quite have the producers yet, or probably the studio time to really get to where they got later, but all solid. All the songs are good. The riffs are off the charts. The guitar tones are super fuzzed out. So yeah, great stuff. And my number 10 would be their latest, Clone of the Universe. Again, to put it so low on the list, it could change. All of these could be interchanged for the most part. The beauty of this one is the 17-minute version of Mostro Atomico with Alex Lifeson as a guest guitar player, which it's kind of hard,
right?
It's hard to figure out where he is in there. I think I know which guitar he's playing, but it's a pretty. It's 17 minutes long, so it's pretty nutty. Great. It's a great record. This whole record is really good. I've Been Hexed. Great song. Clone of the Universe. Amazing song. I don't know why it's lower on my list. the more I listen to it, it may go up. All of these could just move around. They're all good. So those are my 12 to 10. No One Rides for Free, Daredevil, and Clone of the Universe.
Yeah, that big jam is just kind of like where did this come from, right? Because they don't really do stuff like that. These like big instrumental kind of space rock freak out psychedelic things. I would love to hear them do more of that, to be honest with you, because I listen to a lot of other bands that kind of are in this sort of genre that do that a lot, or that don't sing at all and just do instrumental stuff like that. And these guys got the chops, right? So I think that's pretty cool, and maybe that's a sign of things to come from them. I don't know. Who knows?
Possibly.
Yeah, very cool. All right, Craig, what do you have for 12, 11, and 10?
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to quick say how I came into discovering, or how this band was thrust upon me. When I was in college, this is in like sometime in '96 or so, I was interviewing a band and for an article that I was writing for Pennsylvania Musician, and so it was all exciting to get to talk to sort of real musicians. I mean, people, and the one guy that I knew in the band played a song for me, and I was like, wow, is that from the '70s or something? That sounds pretty, yeah, it sounds pretty good. It's like, no, it's brand new. And it was Asphalt Rising from this album, In Search Of. I had never heard anything like that before, and this was before Martin Popoff's book in '97 came out, to have lots of bands in it that I had not heard of before, and so it was totally brand new with me. I've been a fan since, and have been buying everything, all their albums since then as new releases. So that's what got me hooked. Hearing that one song, and then finding each album as a new release since then. So I've been a fan for quite a few years. But my number 12 with the ranking of these is, and again, I mirror what Jim said. This is really hard because a lot of there's a lot of quality in here. My number 12, I'm going with Gigantoid from 2014. This is their second to last full album. This one is the riffs are great on this. It's just that some of the song wise, they started moving to some sci-fi type lyrics with these, and slowing the songs down a lot more than they had been on some of their previous albums. The tone is great, the playing is still great from the guys, but it's just some of the songs aren't as memorable for me personally. Favorite songs would probably be some of the quicker ones on here, like No Warning and Mutant. There's a bonus track on this called Robotic Invasion, which is really good. If you're able to find that, Dimension Shifter just crushes. So this is still number 12, but I guarantee most people will enjoy this. My number 11, I'm also going with Clone of the Universe from 2018. This is their last full-length album. Il Mostro Atomico, the Atomic Monster, just slays on this. I don't have an ear for this type of thing where you guys do, to know where Alex Lifeson is in this. Does he play a lead? Is he playing rhythm? I can't really tell, but great, most 18 minutes, mostly instrumental, except for a part like almost like dead in the middle where he's saying "Light the throttle." I mean, it's but it's a wonderful song. And also, just like Jim said, the title track "Clone of the Universe" is great, with the pauses in it, and just a good mid-paced song with that. So yeah, this one's my number 11. My number 10, I'm going with 2004's Start the Machine. This one's a little bit more commercial, I would say, that as compared to some of their other ones. The tone and the fuzz is still there. It's just this is a little bit I don't want to say lighter, but it doesn't seem as heavy in some of the parts in this. This is about as commercial as you're going to get for this band, but there's still plenty of catchy songs on this. The bookend songs on this are my favorite, Written in Stone and I Want to Be. Those songs are a lot of fun. They even have an instrumental on this called Out to Sea, which is nice, and which is almost relaxing sounding. But then they also got Today's Too Soon, which it's a good rock and roll type song. First album with Scott Reeder on drums. It's not the same Scott Reeder from The Obsessed. That's a different guy. And he's super talented live. Really great. Fun and busy player to see them live, and he fits in perfectly with the guys. So, yep, number 10 is Start the Machine for me.
Cool. My number 12, I'm going to go with Godzilla's Eat and Dust, the two EPs combined, which I guess you can call their fifth album at this point. I think the Eat and Dust song is kick-ass. I love the riffs and the fuzz that's in Shift Kicker. Shift Kicker is just a great song. Yeah, I don't really care for Orbiter all that much. Mongoose kind of meanders on here, but I think their cover of Godzilla by Blue Oyster Cult is loads of fun. We were talking off air that their covers are just generally lots of fun. Module Overload's a really cool song. Living Legends got some killer heavy grooves. I think it's a fun collection of stuff. A little spotty, maybe not essential when we're talking about this entire catalog, but I still think it's pretty cool. But that's my number 12. My number 11 is Start the Machine from 2004. Okay, the eighth album, first with Scott Reeder, as Craig mentioned. I agree with you. I think that this is a little more polished, has a brighter production, I think, than some of the other albums. But, that fuzz is still there. And I think the guitar tone sounds great on this album. I love Written in Stone. Understand is great. Make Them Believe is really good. I'm Getting Away is another really good track. I think you mentioned Out to Sea. That to me sounds like a lot of these bands that do this thing called desert rock. There's so many classifications of this type of music. Is it stoner? Is it doom? Is it desert rock? Is it this? Is it psych? Whatever. But like Out to Sea kind of reminds me of like a bunch of dudes just setting up like amps and things out in the desert and just playing this kind of trippy, like kind of mellow stuff, whatever. Open Your Eyes completely crushes. I think the one thing about this album for me, there's a bit of predictableness on here, which I don't get on some of the other albums, but it's still a lot of fun and you can seriously headbang to this regardless. So that's my number 11. I'm going to probably surprise the both of you with my number 10, but I'm going to go with California Crossing from 2001, their seventh album. It's the last one with Brant Bjork on drums.
Yeah.
To me, this album, I listened to this album and it sounds to me like if AC/DC ever became a stoner band, that's what this album is. And you hear it right from the first track, Separate Kingdom, which I think is a really cool song. Title track, high energy. There's lots of energy on this album. Most of their albums, there's kind of like a like this Black Sabbath meets like kind of punk vibe that permeates all their albums. They're a really weird mix. Nobody really sounds like them. Squash That Fly is totally great. Ampin' is great. Wastoid's got tremendous kind of Sabbath riffs going on there.
Oh yeah.
I think it's a really strong album. For me, there's a couple so-so tracks, which is why I rank it down a little bit lower. But it's totally, just the whole California vibe is all over here. So, but yeah, it's my number 10. Really good album. I would not argue anybody who has that all the way at the top because I totally get it. So, but it's got to go somewhere, right? So back to Jim.
Cool. Okay, so my number, well, I have an 8, but 9. I left the EP off. My number 8/9 is Gigantoid. And yeah, like the newer records, the reason I like, there's a mid period that I really like of this band the most is when they really got more song oriented. Not that they don't here, but some weird atonalities and things. I still love it. Again, all of this I love. Dimension Shifter, Invaders on My Back, great song. Triplanetary, it's a solid record. To me, it's outside of their classic era, and I like it a little bit less, but not that I don't like it at all, because I put it on and I'm like, this is great stuff. So that's my number 8, or 9, as it were. I guess I'm going to stick the EP in the middle here somewhere, because I haven't spent a lot of time listening to that one, although I know the Godzilla and I know Eating Dust and all of that. But my next one after that is 2009 Sign of Infinite Power. There's a lot of good stuff on this. Sometimes the sound of the record, the way it's produced, makes me like it more.
I could see that.
Not listening to the songs as much as just like when I put it on, it sounds so good to me. This record sounds really good. Bionic Astronautics has a really cool, interesting rhythm to it. It's kind of a weird the rhythm is very interesting to it. It's got a weird rhythm to it. Street Beast Defeated, great song. Signs of Infinite Power, the title track, is a great song. Gargantuan March, that's a badass heavy.
Yeah.
You know, I love when they plod so great. It's just like, you know, it's just Godzilla walking across Tokyo, you know. They're so good at that. So that's what I had as my next. And then after that, I have the We Must Obey album. Again, another great, sonically great. Knew It All Along is a great song. That great riff interplay in that song is really cool. Hung Out to Dry, great song. And the cover of Moving in Stereo, awesome. You know, just again, every song they cover, it's like they slow it down and he just talks over it because he doesn't really sing hardly ever. Scott Hill, occasionally you hear him a little bit melodic, but it's that whole talking thing. Like they could play any riff, and that I think that's a big part of, if you like them because some bands, you know, that have singers, if the melody's weird, you go, oh, I don't like this. It's too sing-songy, or it's just the melody's just kind of stupid. Like all of that goes out the window because he just kind of talks through everything.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned that yet. I mean, he's got a really unique style that's unlike.
I always thought he sounded like a stoner version of Ted Nugent, like the vocally, like just the way that he delivers the songs. It's almost like it sounds like Ted Nugent in parts, because Ted doesn't really sing a whole lot either. It's just that's his style. And Scott Hill's got like that, you know, I don't know, it's smoothness, but it works so well, I think, with the music.
It's funny. I think of them as when I describe them to people that don't know this, it's like Black Sabbath, Black Flag. So Henry Rollins never really, he just kind of yelled, but there were songs where he would just talk kind of like that. And I think that's where I know that Scott Hill's a big Black Flag fan. He plays the clear Dan Armstrong, the clear Ampeg guitar, which was what Greg Ginn played in Black Flag. And, you know, so there's that influence of the old metal and the old punk, you know, old hardcore. But the talking thing is just kind of like, it's sort of like, at times this band just reminds me like that basement band in the 70s. You could picture them in the paneled basement and the shag carpet, and they're like learning how to play Iron Man, and they're like, who can sing? Like nobody could sing. So the guy just kind of talks his way through the songs, and that thing kind of stuck. Like they're really simple. I don't like to call it simple, like minimal. They're the way they write songs is so minimal. The songs, the riffs are so basic and so powerful. And then you get that singing over it. It's kind of sounds like a bunch of like young teenage kids learning how to play.
Like Jeff Spicoli from Fast Times with Ridgemont High and his buddies just picking up some guitars.
Right. Yeah, man.
Right?
Okay, and it's let's write songs like that. And they kind of did that and stuck with it and just became really amazing at it. So you get these super simple, the drums oftentimes are really simple, especially on the Brant Bjork stuff that he plays on, because Brant Bjork is very minimalist in the way he does everything. And I love that because it gets right to the point. It doesn't overcomplicate. And that's what's, again, with the vocals, you can't go like, oh, I don't like that song, it's got a dumb melody or whatever, because it's always just that same vocal style. And it never steers you wrong. It always sounds good. So and they write really cool about really cool subjects and have really cool song titles. And so anyway, that's where I went there. And so those are my next three. So We Must Obey was my number 8, as it were.
Cool.
7. Yeah, 7. Sorry. I know I have a list of 11. You guys have a list of 12. It's all anyway. There you go.
Cool.
My 987s are going to be very similar to what Mr. Bacchi just said, but ironically, because we've not put our skulls together for this, but my number 9, I'm going with Signs of Infinite Power. Great album. The song Signs of Infinite Power is just it's like it's a sign of infinite power. Great song. El Busta says leave me alone. I mean, just great. Gargantuan March, I like a lot. One only real complaint is that like Webfoot Witch Hat sounds like a song from the prior album. It sounds like hung out to dry. So it's like it sounded a little bit too much repetitive there, but still a good song, still a good album, and lots of riffs and fun, and you again will not be disappointed with that. So that's my 9. My number 8, I'm going with We Must Obey from 2007. Really great album. I enjoy this one a lot. And what better band to cover Moving in Stereo? Really. I mean, it's like, it's like, oh, the song from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Yeah, I mean, these guys are gonna cover that. Shake It Loose, I love. Land of Giants, it just stomps. I mean, I love that song. I saw this tour. They opened with We Must Obey. They played quite a few songs from this album. The one complaint of this that I do recall was when seeing them live. I was with my brother, and I said they can play any song from this album, and that'd be great, except for Sensei versus Sensei. I don't really like that one. They played Sensei versus Sensei, and so that's the only one I don't care for too much on this. But the ones that are excellent outweigh that by a lot. Didn't really try, knew it all along. What great songs. And this is my favorite of the what I would call the latter day albums from them. So yeah, We Must Obey. And my number, what would this be, 987, is I'm going with Eaton Dust. This is the version from Man's Ruin record, so it looks a little bit different from the one that Pete had shown. His has a few extra bonus tracks on it. Mine just has the eight original songs on it, starting with the cover of Godzilla, which is really good. They don't really change it too much, just slow it down a little bit. But Mongoose is a really good song. I prefer the re-recorded version that's on California Crossing a lot better. It's tighter, it's shorter, and I agree with what Pete said about Orbiter, and but the song Eaton Dust just crushes. I love that the riff. I mean, just great. Just yesterday on my way to the bank, I heard Module Overload, and it was just I was like, oh my god, this song is great. And Living Legend is kind of is smooth and just cool sounding, but it still has those riffs that you all come to enjoy and everything. But yeah, but still, it's got to come in somewhere. But I do love this album, Eaton Dust. That's my number 7.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna go with number 9. I'm gonna go with Gigantoid from 2014, 11th album. Good stuff. It's a little different, but it's really heavy in spots. I love the guitar tones. Dimension Shifter is a great opener. You love these guys. They usually always open up an album with a real ass kicker. Anxiety Reducer, that's kind of like weird psych metal, right? I guess. I don't know. Very cool. Radio Source Sagittarius just absolutely pummels. Mutant.
Yeah.
I mean, the fuzz on that is just like, it's like a fucking mountain, coming over and hitting you over the head. It's great. Evolution Machine is really good. there's a sameness to some of the tracks on here. I think some of the latter albums you get a little bit of that, but I don't really mind it much. And like I said, I think the guitar tones on this album just absolutely crush. So I like it. It's good, but it's coming in number 9 for me. Number 8, we are in agreement. We Must Obey. This is actually the first Fu Manchu album I ever heard. I reviewed this for the webzine back when it first came out, but for whatever reason, I never, because we used to review everything that Century Media put out, and they were on Century Media for a little while. And for whatever reason, I just never went back to the band for some strange reason. But it's good stuff on here. Title track is good, high energy Fu Manchu. You got the wah-wah guitar solos all over the place and stuff, lots of fuzz, got the gang vocals and things like that. Knew It All Along, it's got some really killer riffing. Let Me Out is great. Jim mentioned before this whole plodding thing, like plod. Most bands would not like to have their music be called plodding, but I think when it comes to these guys, it's a good thing, right? Land of Giants, so
Yes.
good, so good.
It just sounds like something evil's coming. It's like dun, dun,
it's
dun,
menacing, right? It's just like
dun,
there's so much heft.
dun.
You're looking over your shoulder, like, oh god. And I love Hung Out to Dry too. That's got some really cool psych guitar freakouts going on there. So it's a cool album. I dig it. I love the logo too. We were talking about off camera how every album's got like a different logo. There are some that I like more than others. I really dig this one quite a bit. And my number 7 is Clone of the Universe, their most recent album from 2018. Only 7 songs. You got the big massive we talked about before, Il Mostro Atomico, I think is awesome. I like that kind of like psychedelic stoner jamming shit. I think that's really cool. Intelligent Worship is an intense opener. I love I've Been Hexed, which has some really good riffs and good solos. Don't Panic pummels. You got the doomier, Slower Than Light. Nowhere Left to Hide is really good. I don't think there's a bad song on it. It's a little bit different, and like I said, the songs are kind of longer and you got the big jam, but I like it. It's been now 5 years since their last album, although they've released some songs like this year. They've got a couple tunes up on Bandcamp that I listened to the other day that were really good. Maybe they'll put it on a release or some point, but yeah, good stuff. My number 7.
They have a lot of short EPs that they put out,
Yeah,
mostly
2 or
on
3 songs,
on vinyl or digitally. I've bought them digitally. So they have 3 different Fu 30, part 1, part 2, and part 3. Each are 3 songs, 2 originals and a cover.
Yep.
On each of them. They're $3 on iTunes, so you can, each. So you can, but you can get them physically on vinyl. I don't think they came out physically on CD though.
No, I wonder if they're going to put them all together at some point, maybe later in the year once they've done releasing them. I don't know. That's like I just noticed that the other day. I was like, ooh, because they're pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jim, back to you. Next 3.
Okay, so what was my last one? Was We Must Obey, right? Don't listen here. We Must Obey was my last. So okay, so coming in at number 5, In Search Of from 1996. The guitars on this album are so loud. It's funny because when I listen to it, I'm like, damn, those guitars are way up in the mix. They're super, like the drums are kind of set back, but the tones are insane. Regal Beagle, that song, very Blue Cheer, really has a Blue Cheer vibe to that. Strato Streak, great, a great song. That album is just, like I said, it's so guitar heavy. Like when I want to really listen to the raw fuzz, like right up in your face, that's the album. It's got a great cover. They got a lot of great cars on their covers and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, then that's from 1996. So that's fairly early. My next one after that is the first record I ever heard of by them back in the Buzz Bubble days. The guy who was running the label we were first on showed this record to me, and The Action Is Go with the classic Tony Alva. Yeah, that's a classic like skateboarder magazine shot from the 70s. And I'm like, wow, that's a really cool, look at that cover, man. That's amazing. At the time, it wasn't really my cup of tea. It's sort of like post-grunge era, right? So it kind of came after all the Caius and the, Nirvana and all that stuff. wasn't really what I was into at the time. And now I go back and listen to it. I'm like, Evil Eye has to be one of the greatest guitar riffs ever. I mean, no. What? It's just like one note. It's like, I remember a friend of mine said, we were talking about Fu Manchu. He goes, you got to love that riff. It's just so simple and so badass. Laser Blast is a great song from that record.
Yeah.
And if you listen on I think on the Roadburn record, it's a great version of on that record. It's like
they speed it up slightly when they do it live, and it sounds better. In my opinion,
heavier. Like it's kind of, when I listen to the studio version, like, wow, the guitar's a little more laid back. Like on the live version, it's just like pummeling. And Saturn 3, another great song. Great record. Sort of well, I guess that was so that was what, 97.
That's 97.
97, yeah. So they're starting to get their footing, in terms of producing their albums and all of that. So that's my next one. And then after that, I have Start the Machine after that. So that's my number 3. I like, they got kind of melodic, and it's funny because, with all the talk singing that he does, when he does actually do some singing, it's good. The song Hey, I fucking love. That's probably one of my favorites on this record. Hey, it's a great riff. I like that record. I love the way it, again, for me, sonics play a big part in how I feel about a record. Sonically, that record is just solid, really good production, really good, polished. But to me, even when they're polished, they're still so raw. The fuzz just overbounds. It overflows even on that record. Written in Stone, Make Them Believe. I like that record quite a lot. So that's my number. It would be my number 3 here. So.
All right, Craig.
All right. These are my creme de la creme. These are the ones where I was like, trying to rank these where it was toughest for me. But so for my number 6, I'm going with California Crossing from 2002. A little bit smoother up at that point compared to some of their other albums, but I don't say that in a bad way. The title track, California Crossing, I challenge anyone to try and drive the speed limit when you're playing this in the car. It is impossible. Forget it. It's not going to happen. So, I mean, what a great song. The re-recorded version of Mongoose on this, in my opinion, is superior to the one that's on Eaten Dust.
I agree. Way better. It's almost like a different song, Craig. It's almost like a different song.
Yeah, it's more compact. It just sounds better. And it's the same 4 guys, too. WizKid, Ampin, Downtown and Dogtown, love that. This album in particular, this was as close as I would say to Fu Manchu as like breaking it, because I bought this at Best Buy as a new release, and it was advertised in their circular for the week, because it came with a bonus CD of 2 extra songs. So the extra songs on this, the one is Planet of the Ape Hangers, which is so great it should have made the album. It's such a great song. I wish it were on the album. The second song is called Breathing Fire, and that's from the prior album Sessions, King of the Road. It's a speedy, almost like a punky type rocker, but a lot of fun. And sometimes you can find this one separately on eBay, because if you bought this from Amazon, it would just come with this one. But the bonus tracks, if you can find this, make it all worthwhile. But yeah, Planet of the Ape Hangers is so great. I mean, it's
Craig. Do you think Chris Allo has ever heard Planet of the Ape Hangers?
Yeah, I hope he has.
Planet of the Apes fan. That's like probably should introduce.
Well, you know what ape hangers are? I don't know if you guys know what they are.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
motorcycle.
the really
Yeah.
tall,
Yeah, big motorcycle. Yeah.
That's
But
hilarious.
I saw this tour. That was the first time that I saw them, and much to my surprise at the time, this was the last album with Brant Bjork. Scott Reeder was playing drums, and it was like, wait, who's this guy? When I saw them live, they released a live album for this tour called "Go For It Live." It's double, basically a greatest hits live up to that point, and you must own this if you don't have it. If you're a fan, the tone of this is great. It's in front of a small crowd, so the music is right there in your face. You don't hear overlap of noise or anything like that. A lot of fun. A double album. They also had this one called Live at Roadburn 2003. Technically, it's for the California Crossing tour as well. This is just a single, has 9 songs on it, but just as good live document from the band. My next one would be my number 5. I'm going with King of the Road Says You Move Too Slow. Another one that, again, I challenge anyone. You try to drive. If you're playing this in the car, forget it. The cops are pulling you over. You have no chance. Hell on Wheels is one of the best openers of an album and of a concert. They would open a lot of shows with Hell on Wheels, and it's just a classic. Boogie Van is so much fun, and just absolute gem of a track from these guys. Weird Beard, just Grass Chopper. Their cover of Freedom of Choice by Devo is pretty good. I prefer the original, but they do a nice job on that. But great album from '99, and if some of the ones that if anybody says that it's like, oh well, that one's my favorite one, I'm not going to argue with somebody. This is just my personal preference. My number 4, I went with Daredevil from 1995. I was kind of flippity flopping between this one and King of the Road in my positions, but then I was re-listening to this, and it's like, oh my God, Travel Agent is such a great goddamn song, and I was like, I have to, and Tilt, Working. I mean, Tilt is probably my favorite song on this. Trapeze Freak, Space Farm. I mean, just riffs after riffs of fun, well played music. I mean, the whole album's maybe 40 minutes or so.
Yeah.
I mean, just you will not be disappointed with this. This is their second full length from '95. Daredevil, great album.
Cool. All right, my number 6, I'm going to go with The Actions Go. First with Brant Bjork from Caius on drums. Pretty cool, right? You got a new guitar player, Bob Balch. Is that how he says his name?
Yeah.
Here. Again, high energy album. You got 14 tracks on here, fast paced numbers. Title track, Evil Eyes, great. Guardrail, Unknown World, Hogwash. Got a punky vibe to it, right? Laser Blast is so good. Urethane, so good. I love the slow, and I like when they do a lot of the fast stuff, then they throw a slower one in there, like Grendel Snowman. I mean, it's got like this brontosaurus like Black Sabbath stomp from like maybe Master Reality or something like that. Saturn 3 is a complete stoner classic, great headbanging tune. I think the cover kind of really gives you a hint of what you're in store for in this album. You see the cover, you're like, all right, I think I kind of know where they're going there. It does not disappoint.
Yeah.
My number 5, I'm going to go with the debut, No One Rides for Free. Brant Bjork produces this album. I think this is a complete banger. I totally agree with Jim that it like maybe is not as refined as some of the early stuff, but man, Ojo Rojo just crushes. And that guitar tone is just absolutely immense on this album. Mega Bumper is so good. Shining On is so good. Snake Bellies. I mean, it's short. It's like what, just under 30 minutes. I think this album was like 29 minutes or something like that. But man, what a hell of a first album. And I love the cover. And I always like the concert shots like that on the back, from above the small audience in front. People in the audience probably like, what the fuck did I just get hit with, right? Awesome stuff. Love it. And my number 3, I'm also going to go with Daredevil from '95, second album. I think, with this album that you can just hear this band is like off to the races, like right off the bat. Just great stuff. Trapeze Freak is so good. I think Scott's vocals or talking, whatever you want to call it, that he does. I think he sounds a little more confident on this album, which is pretty apparent. I love this, some cool twin guitar things going on this album, him and Eddie Glass. Like I mentioned, Trapeze Freak is so good. Tilt Official is great, or Tilt. I just love the fuzz that's all over Tilt, just really, really good. Coyote Dust just kicks complete ass. Slee Stack, Space Farm, and then Igor, massive big headbanger. I don't think there's a bad song on this album. Every one of them just completely kicks ass, and it just sounds like a young band really, really wanting to take it to the next level. And again, the cover just totally gives you the feel of what the hell this album is all about. I think a lot of their covers do, actually. So yeah, just on the beach, rampaging around the dunes in your little buggy, and yeah, good stuff. I like Daredevil a lot. That's my number 4.
Cool.
Back to Jim.
Okay, so these are my top 2. So and to preface this, I have a custom 70s van. Van I bought, I customized it, made it look like, and has started a van club, and we do van cruises and all this stuff with 100 vans cruising and all kinds of stuff. And for obvious reasons, this album, King of the Road, has a classic shot. And I actually met one of the guys who was in one of those vans, and that's literally from the mid 70s. That picture, the song Boogie Van it's our anthem, for people that are into custom vans. I mean, he basically laid it out lyrically. And it is great music to drive your van to. So, Hell on Wheels. I agree. Yeah, exactly. One of the greatest album or show openers ever. We did a thing. They played. So they live really close to me. Fu Manchu's from San Clemente, which is like 30 minutes from me south on the coast there. It's funny because like people kind of call them desert rock, but they're from the beach, except for Brant Bjork. But they play a little club that not too far from me in Costa Mesa, and we decided to have a van night. We brought all the vans out in the parking lot, and we all went into the show, and we got pictures with them afterwards and all that. I got a picture of them and Scott and Brad, the bass player, in front of my van. And they played King of the Road. It was just like fucking wow. It's so good. I love their version of Freedom of Choice. Like I never really listened to Devo. So now when I go back to the Devo version, I compare it. And I'm like, I like the Fu Manchu version better because that's the one I kind of heard first. I never really I liked Devo as a kid, but I never bought any of their records. So I knew like their version of Satisfaction, watching them play it for the first time on Saturday Night Live when I was a kid. I'm like, oh, they're really cool. But never really dug deeper and bought the records. But I like their version of Freedom of Choice. Weird Beard, such a great song. Blue Tile Fever. So many good ones on this record. It sounds incredible. And the ultimate like van anthem, Boogie Van, is on there. It's like, it's like, so that's a great super plot, all the great descriptions of a custom van are all in that song. So, and that's my first real introduction to listening to the band. This goes back about 10 years. I got into them and then just got into them ever since. So King of the Road is my number 2. My number 1 is California Crossing. And I go back and forth on these two because they're both very similar. I agree with what you said, Craig. It sounds to me, when I listen to California Crossing, to me, it sounds like they got like the real label support that Matt Hyde produced it, who was producing a lot of big alt rock bands back in the day. It sounds like a band that was really like, all right, let's try and get a song on the radio. So You get a song. Probably my favorite Fu Manchu song besides Boogie Van is that song "Squash That Fly." For its AC/DC-ness, it's like so four on the floor. The great thing about Brant Bjork, again, he keeps it real simple, and the band they sound like just hitting you. Separate Kingdom is the song that starts the record. Great. California Crossing, great. So many. Mongoose, I love Mongoose. I've never really listened to the other version before, but the version on this album, great. This album, I love the way it sounds. So again, production and the way the record sounds, you could turn that record to 11 and your stereo still sounds great. It's very warm sounding, very polished sounding. I like when bands like this polish up because they're still really rocking and raw, but it just sounds super high, really pro sounding. And like I said, it sounds like they were like trying to get a hit, and in a perfect world, Squash That Fly, or Separate Kingdom would have been radio songs because they're really catchy. They're singing, even a little bit of harmony here and there, which is great. So for me, very song oriented, and I like when bands do this. I'm a pop guy, so I wouldn't call it pop, but it's very catchy. So that is my favorite, and still to this day, that'll always be my number one record for them. And
I always thought "Thinking Out Loud,"
Thinking Out Loud is the other
would
one.
be like
Yes.
a perfect radio song.
Right, that's the one I forget to
that
mention.
it's to introduce someone who is not familiar and doesn't necessarily like the crushers like Saturn III. Then you give them "Thinking Out Loud" or "Separate Kingdom," and it's like, oh, that's a little bit more palatable, to someone.
Right. Yeah, I forgot to mention that one's really catchy, really almost like a pop song for them. But I love it because I love a good catchy song. So there you go. Yeah. So California Crossing is my numero uno, as it were.
Cool. Craig?
All right, my number 3, I went with "No One Rides for Free." This is a CDR copy that I have, and it is combined with Return to Earth 91 to 93, which is a lot of demos and that they had. The comparison between them is like night and day, because Return to Earth, those songs are really rough sounding, and the songs really aren't quite there. But I'll tell you, agreeing with what you guys had said, the debut album, I think they got their shit together really quick, and especially when comparing it to that prior one, to get their sound down. I mean, I love "Time to Fly," dun, 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 I mean, it's just the way that is. "Oho Roho." I mean, I can't. Every time I hear the Kansas City, I hear that that part in the song was like, "Kansas City, here I come." It's like Mega Bumpers is probably a top 5 song for me from them. I love that. I love the breakdown, like in the middle, where it almost like you could almost picture like a race is going to happen, where he says, "Shiny new Camaro's hitting in my sight, the chump's going down," and it just sounds like they're like a race is about ready to start. And Superbird, I mean, how could anybody not like that? It's like, took my Superbird down to the track. I mean, just such a fun song, and a great one to see live as well. I got to see them do that one live on the California Crossing tour. But a lot of fun with the songs. I mean, I think it's, what is it, "Shine It On" or "Show and Shine." One of them is "Never Eat at a Place Called Mom's." It starts out like that. Just such a fun riffy album. So yeah, my number 3 is "No One Rides for Free." My number 2, these are tough between these two, but my number 2, I went with "In Search Of." The first album that I heard from them. I mean, "Asphalt Rising," I absolutely love. "Redline," "Cyclone Launch" has like one of the best riffs I've ever heard. The Falcon is landed. I'm just that slow song where it's, on a hell-bent journey to the center of the earth. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, I love it. Solid Hex, just so many great songs on this. If someone said this was their favorite, I would not argue with them at all. I adore this album as well. And again, this was the first, my introduction to the band, and love it to this day. My number one, and this was when Ryan Scow and I did an album homework assignment early last year. I gave him a Fu Manchu CD that he wasn't familiar with them, and I said this one's my favorite, and I stand by that still with The Action Is Go. Evil Eye, Urethane, I love both of those songs. Just the riffs are just killer. Anodizer, where at the end of the song where it's flying over my head, it's like, just again, seeing that live. I think that was the second to last show song when I saw them the first time, and just so great. And Hogwash, cool riff on that. Brendel Snowman with the bass, that goes through that. And I cannot say enough about Saturn III. That is one of my absolute favorite songs, almost like by anybody. The riffs on that are just so killer. I love it. The end shows with this a lot of times, and at the time when I first heard that, I was like, why would you end a show with this? It's like I didn't get it at first, but then it's like it grew on me, and I was like, oh my God, this is one of the greatest things I've ever heard. I love Saturn III, and this Action Is Go from '97 is my top pick from Fu Manchu.
It's a good one.
How about Regal Beagle? That's a good song too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. More about that in a minute.
Yeah.
My number 3, surprisingly, is Signs of Infinite Power from 2009. I love the way this album sounds. The production and the tone of the guitars is absolutely monstrous. And I think there are just some freaking stoner anthems that just do it 100% for me. I mean, Gargantuan March.
Ridiculous.
So good. Steel Beast, Defeated. I mean, just Bionic Astronautics. I mean, these songs just completely kill. Against the Ground, Webfoot, Witch Hat. I mean, I love the song titles and everything. I don't know. I just, we talked about it earlier. Sometimes some of the productions on some of these are just a little more impactful than some of the others. And I think this is one of the albums where it sounds so massive. The songs are really good too. But man, it's just, you put this on and the speakers in the house just rattle. I just love it. So heavy. So that's my number 3. Number 2, I'm going to go with King of the Road from 2000. Songs all about cars. And Jim, if I ever come to California, your neck of the woods, I hope to go in that van of yours.
Yeah, man. We'll cruise down PCH, man. It'll be awesome.
There you go. It's been a while since I've been on PCH. So yeah, it's a lovely area. A lot of energy on this album. Frantic songs, nonstop riffing. Hell on Wheels is so good. That's as anthemic as this band gets. I mean, that's just amazing. Over the Edge is great. Some of these songs, there's like a compactness that's not unlike like AC/DC or Kiss, right? Short 2.5, 3-minute long songs, simple but effective riffing. There's that energy there. I mean, Boogie Van is just terrific. Title Track just crushes. No Dice has got some wicked wah-wah guitars on it. Brass Chopper's got some great drumming. I mean, Drive to me is like a modern day Blue Cheer. You mentioned Blue Cheer earlier, Jim. I hear Blue Cheer a lot on these albums. And I think it's cool. I mean, there's so much to love here. This was almost my number 1, but my number 1 is In Search Of. Third album. I know a lot of people pick this as a top album, and I think for a reason. I mean, the massive fuzz kicks in right with Regal Beagle, the first track on the album, and you're just instantly hooked in. Missing Link could have come off of Master Reality by Black Sabbath. I mean, it's that kind of tune. Asphalt Rising, love the riffs, love the scorching guitar solos on there, really good. Neptune's Convoy is also really good. It's kind of trippy. Stratostreak, so good. Sea Hag on here is great. The Falcon Has Landed, absolutely terrific. Sharpshooter's great. One belter after another. There's nothing on here I don't like. It's so much fun, and it completely kicks your ass. So that's my number one.
What a guitar sound on that record, man.
Yeah, and that some of the albums I like the most are the ones that just have that immense, just killer guitar tone on it. I mean, they all do really, but some just sound a little better than others, I think. But
I missed the tour that they played all of In Search of from beginning to end, but
wow.
But I did see the tour. It was I think it was about 10 years ago, where they played all of The Action Is Go from beginning to end, and just great hearing some of the songs that they don't play normally in a set was so cool to hear.
As a newbie to this band, it's like next time they come around, I have to go see them, because I think to me this sounds like a band you have to experience live at least once, right?
Yeah, do they play up by you guys very often? Because I know they go to Europe a lot, these days.
They used to play. Now they'll play in small places in Philadelphia, but the couple of times that I saw them in Westchester, PA, which was much more preference to me, not as far driving. But I think both the places that they played don't exist anymore. So if I do want to go, I would have to go to a place like Underground Arts in Philadelphia to catch them.
Yeah,
I sworn that Karen LaPreziosa said she saw them at one of the kind of like stoner fests that they did here a year or two ago, like in Queens or New York City or something like that. I think.
Oh, Desert Fest in possibly. We're spoiled because they like twice a year they'll play the Wayfarer in Costa Mesa, which is right like where I saw them, and it's just like a little place, and I think they just show up there to warm up or whatever for their, because they go to festivals, but. Yeah, they're close by, so like they'll do a local show like that, and like the last one I think sold out, but the ones before that, like I said, we got all the vans and we all went out, and it was fun.
And I wanted to say also with some additional listening to this, Fu Manchu bred another band, from their rankings, and that is Nebula, because all three members of Nebula were in Fu Manchu. So you had Eddie Glass guitars and singing, Ruben Romano on drums, and Mark Absher on bass. He played bass on No One Rides for Free, and Brad Davis replaced him on all subsequent albums. But more of a still stoner rock, but a little bit more psychedelic with their playing, and lots of great albums from Nebula. So if you like Fu Manchu, but maybe you want to try something with some more psych in it, and just as good guitar solos and a lot of fun with the playing, then check out Nebula.
Yeah,
Karen mentioned it on the fuzz show. At least, more than. They got to have close to 10. I mean, because they've been.
Saw them when they first came out.
Their first album came out in 97. But then it's they had this one came out in 2008 or 9. But then there was a 10-year gap until this one came out. So this one's called Holy Shit. So, but. 10-year gap between their albums. I think they had broken up. Eddie Glass is the only current of the original members remaining with the band, but they're still active. Karen mentioned them on your last Fuzz episode from their latest album, Transmissions from Mothership Earth, which just came out last year, I believe.
Yeah,
well, another band to check out. Great, there's so many of them.
and we talked about a little bit in the thread, but Brant Bjork solo stuff. I'm going to see him play tonight. He's playing way up in the nether regions of the desert, a place called Palmdale. Me and my friend are taking a trip up there to see him. Really good. I mean, he has a crazy career after he left Fu Manchu and Caius. I mean, tons of records, a lot of albums, all really good. And yeah, I'm super excited to go see him play again tonight. I saw him back at Heavy Psych Sounds Festival in Joshua Tree in March, and it was a pretty magical experience. So yeah.
How many for that Heavy Psych Sounds show? Like, how many of their bands did they have playing at that? That's a great label.
It was probably 8 bands.
Okay.
I mean, Geezer played.
Yep.
Got to see Geezer. Hippie Death Cult, who's from Portland. They're really cool. Actually, there was two different. It was weird. It was in a parking lot in Joshua Tree, and there was a club kind of in the other end of the parking lot. So there were bands inside there too, and then the bands outside. It was probably more like 10 or 12 then. Now I come to think of it, but some really cool bands. I went there because I really wanted to see Geezer, and they definitely they did not disappoint. They were fantastic. And I wanted to see Brent Bjork, and he was really great. And Brent Bjork, amazing. I'm watching him, I'm just like looking at his guitar. I'm like, is he playing a Squire? And it's like Squire is like the $200 to $400 cheap Fender guitar. And I'm like, he's playing a fucking Squire, and he sounded great. I'm just like, kudos to him, man. Rocking the cheap guitar.
There you go.
Sounded great doing it. He's a really great singer too. Plays drums, plays everything. But he plays guitar in his Brent Bjork trio. Really great singer though too. So yeah. So if you're into Fu Manchu, like Brent Bjork is a little more melodic and laid back, very sort of in the same stoner desert, but really good. So you got to get those records, man, and you'll really enjoy them.
And there's a lot of them.
Yeah, there is a lot of them.
I mean, that's the thing with this style of music. There's so many bands and so many albums. It's just ridiculous. You can literally be spending all your time exploring all these bands and stuff and offshoots. Because a lot of these musicians, they're not in just one band. They've got solo. Well, Brent is a perfect example. He's got solo records. He's got his other band. He's got the trio. He's got Stoner. Yeah, there's all these other things. It's just like, it's crazy. So
and Brad Davis on bass for Fu Manchu. I mean, he just helped out Clutch for their European tour, was filling in for Dan Gaines on bass for them. So a lot of these guys are friendly with each other, and and play well together. But yeah, lots of great stuff with all the bands that we've mentioned.
Yeah, and it's funny. I just went on the drummer Scott Reeder's drum page. He has a side project band with the Scott Reeder from Caius. I forget what the band's called, but they have the two Scott Reeders are doing an album together. So that should be interesting. But yeah, good stuff. And happily, it's all local to me. So when they go play their small club gigs and stuff, it's all going to be close to me. But yeah. So yeah, Fu Manchu.
That's right. So for everybody watching, if you are familiar with this band, rank the albums as you like them down in the comments below. If you're new to the band, after you've heard us talking about them in such positive ways for the last hour, I think you have a lot of recommendations for places to go in the catalog. So really, there's no bad place to start, folks. You want to start from the beginning, go to the end, or start at the more recent albums and work your way back, start in the middle, whatever. Pick out 2 or 3 to check out first, and that'll be a good start. So,
hey, Pete, real quick, can I plug something real quick?
You absolutely can, Jim.
So I have in the spirit of Fu Manchu, I've been kind of doing songs like in that style on my own for the last 10 years or so. And I finally put together a band to do stoner rock. I got a new band called Max Boogie Overdrive. We just released one single and video, but we're finishing up our album. So that should be out around in the fall. I'm thinking October. We have our first show on July 22nd at the Wayfarer Club, which is where I saw Fu Manchu a couple of times when it was called the Detroit Bar. Band's called Max Boogie Overdrive. It's very, very Fu Manchu influence, Old Sabbath, Fu Manchu, early Kiss, of course, for me. And yeah, if you guys haven't checked it out already, we have a first single called Suffer Sister. It's on YouTube video. There's a video for it. And we have a record coming out. Record's going to be called Stoned Again. And it's coming out in probably October. We're finishing it now. So I just wanted to give a quick plug to that for people that are into Fu Manchu. would probably like Max Boogie. So
I would think so. And when that album is released, you'll be hearing more about it here on the channel. So
they're sending you
wait for
guys
that,
some.
right? And we'll give you all sorts of information on where you can buy it, hear it, see it, all that kind of stuff. So looking forward to it, Jim.
Yeah,
Like what I've heard so far.
pretty cool. Yeah, that's the most. That one was the most kind of Motorheadish sounding. The rest is more fuzz, Fu Manchu, riffy type of stuff. But yeah, I think you'll dig it if you like that and this. You'll like that. So.
Cool. Sounds good.
Cool.
So thanks for watching, everybody. Visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all together. All the damn
All
time.
the damn time.
Let us know what you think of Fu Manchu down below. And we'll see you next week here on Ranking the Albums for Craig Kaminski and Jim Bacchi. I want to thank both of them so much for helping out here today.
Thanks for having me, man. This is
Both of them
great.
for getting me into this band. I'm very excited about that, to be a Fu Manchuer, to be a Fu fan now at this point in time. So thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you next week here on Ranking the Albums. Take care. Bye-bye.